You're listening to America's Web Radio on the AmericasBroadcastNetwork.com. Thank you for listening.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Georgia Military Veterans Hall of Fame Hour. And General Dix, I'm not sure the world is ready for this, but we'll test it out and see if it'll stay on its axis, okay?
Yeah, let's give him a chance.
I'm going to be an airborne ranger. I'm going to live a life of danger. Sound off.
1, 2,
3, 4.
3, 4. Break it on down. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Well, we survived. It's not rocking anyway.
No, I'm not rocking.
You want to do your own now?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do another one.
All right, you got it.
Left, your left, your left, right,
left,
your left, your left, your left, right. Get on down. Your left, your left, your left, right. Get on down. They say that in the Army, the chow is mighty fine. The chicken jumped off the table and killed a friend of mine. Oh, Lord, I want to go, but they won't let me go. Oh, Lord, I want to go, but they won't let me go home, home, home. They say that in the Army, the pay is mighty fine. They give you $100 and take back 99. Oh, Lord, I want to go, but they won't let me go. Oh, Lord, I want to go home. Hey.
Hi, you're in good voice today.
Yep. So that's the story of why the Army soldiers are always broke. They always take back 99.
That's it. And that other dollar spent on a can of beer. Near beer.
Cool.
As they said. But this is... this show is one of the few shows, because we do it, that I look forward to every week, and having General Richard Dix in is a pleasure as always. And he's got a couple of guests today.
Absolutely.
And the one will be calling in a minute, and we'll get him on. And you want to introduce your other guest?
Yes, I've got Dr. Denise Cosby from Executive Business Solutions. She's in the studio, and she is my little sister, and a great American that believes in taking care of the military. And she wanted to come and observe our broadcast this morning or this afternoon and see what we do and see how she could help us get the word out.
What do we do?
Well, we kind of tell stories, and we talk about the past, and, we talk about key elements that should not be forgotten.
Well, the one thing, the comments that I've gotten on the show is the fact that you and I banter back and forth well, but it's sort of like what we learned about Vietnam. A veteran will talk to a veteran, but a veteran won't talk to someone that hadn't been there and done that.
Absolutely.
In some shape, form, or fashion.
Mm-hmm.
And yours was in some shape and form. Mine was just in some fashion. I had the tapered fatigues going in, and my Cochrane jump boots.
Yep.
Everybody had to have the Cochrane.
Absolutely.
But anyway, and talk about getting me next to a plane to jump out of. No way in the world.
Absolutely. Why would you jump out of a perfectly good airplane?
Never figured that out. Like, I believe the Army had the saying, there are only two things that fall out of the sky.
Those paratroopers and the birds that they shot.
That's it. But anyway, so I'm going to turn it back over to you and let her rip.
Well, I think a great segue, David, for this show is talking about continuing that lessons learned approach, and that's what Colonel Joseph Ladner, U.S. Army retired, is going to bring to the table. He was a young second lieutenant that deployed from Fort Hood, Texas, and we'll get him on and ask him a few questions about what it was like back in the early 90s to go into Desert Shield and then transform into Desert Storm from the world's preeminent cavalry division and corps out at Fort Hood, Texas. And, one of the good things about the show is that we get a chance to talk to veterans and get veterans to open up about what they've seen, the experiences that they've had, how did they learn from it. And it's a part of the healing process. And that's what we're here to do, heal the veterans, but also share those valuable stories that America needs to hear.
Absolutely. There was nothing scarier to a, what would you say, E6, E7, maybe E8, than a
brand new second lieutenant.
Brand new second lieutenant. Exactly. I was trying to think, how could I say that tactfully?
Yeah. You introduce a butter bar, as they affectionately call us back in the day, into a new platoon, and you got seasoned vets that have been there, done that, and you got a young kid coming straight out of college or the academy, and that's a hard pill for some people to swallow sometimes.
Sir, how long do you expect to live?
Yeah, and if you listen to us, you'll be fine. Do what we tell you to do, and you'll learn the rest on the job training. So words of wisdom that still ring true. Absolutely.
OJT.
Absolutely.
Now, the one thing that, or not one thing, but many things that find very interesting in talking to people that listen, the fact, again, of us bantering back and forth and saying OJT. Who knows what? Or AG or NG or AR, I'm sorry, AR or NG or whatever, and people don't know what we're talking about.
Right.
And yet I spent, as an NG from Texas, in mechanized infantry.
National Guardsman.
Yes, sir. And light arms infantry and mechanized infantry, I got to tour Fort Hood. And I must say, the one thing that was neat, and when they'd pop the flares at night and illuminate the whole.
The gun ranges.
Yeah. That was neat.
Oh,
that
yeah.
was neat.
And those are the type of things that, it never grows old.
No.
And, to this day, they still illuminate those night ranges. And in the same field artillery fashion, the Queen of Battle. And, it's telling how some things stay the same, and they just grow and continue. And it always reverts back to, day one of when you were in the Army back in the early 60s and 50s. To when I was in it in the mid-'80s, and it's just amazing how some things never change.
You'd get so accustomed to it that you'd hear the initial pop, and you knew what was coming, and then, for not lack of better things to do, it just got to be a routine. 1, 2, and see how long before you saw the light.
Absolutely.
And been there, done that.
Amen. So some of the things that we probably want to highlight this week is once again we're looking at the 29th year since we deployed into Saudi Arabia and Desert Storm, and we want to highlight that, and we want to bring that into perspective. So that was one of the reasons why we wanted to have Colonel Ladner on today to talk about, the alert process that he received at Fort Hood, and then walk us through how Fort Hood prepared to go to war. So I think we might have him on.
Yes, sir. Whoa. Is this Colonel Ladner? Oh, okay. Let me transfer you in, okay? Hold on.
Love that technology. Hey, Joe, are you there?
Wait 1 second.
Okay.
Okay, now you should hear us.
Hey, Joe, are you there?
I can't hear you.
Okay. Hey, so how you doing today?
I'm doing fine. How are you guys doing today?
Oh, we're doing great.
Thanks for having me on.
All right. Hey, so we want to talk about your experiences getting the alert and then preparing to deploy and then loading up your equipment and leaving Fort Hood, Texas. What was that like?
That's the best thing that ever happened to you as far as I'd be concerned.
I tell you, at the time, being a lieutenant, it was challenging. We loved the training, and Fort Hood was a good place to train, and everything there was more mechanized, heavy combat equipment, tanks, and things like that. So we got the alert, kind of August time frame. We went through our train up and prep. Since I was a lieutenant, I was in a general supply company, so we had a lot of heavy equipment. So we prepped. We looked over our tents and heaters and things like cots and things like that to make sure we had enough for our soldiers. We packed it in a way. We packed it in containers in a way so we could get everything out and have it broken down in containers by section. So when we pulled things out, it was by section. We made sure we trained up again on weapons and things like that. And what we found out that land navigation was different in the desert, so we try to work through that. And one unique thing about Fort Hood, it's particularly in the 13th COSCOM, that was 13 Combat Support Command is what I was in. We tried to tailor the force to a combat, a multi-functional combat unit. So what happened, I was in a supply and service battalion, and they started looking at, and we had a transportation battalion, maintenance battalions, and so they looked across all battalions, at least the commander of the 13th COSCOM did, and said we're going to task organize, sort of like combat arms would do by merging infantry and armor together. And we task organized to make sure every battalion had a maintenance slice, a supply slice, and a transportation slice. And then there were some unique battalions that had field services and water, stuff like that. When I say field services, they're able to do laundry support and things like that, and water purification and things like that.
So that sounds familiar, Joe. Sounds a lot like today's deployments and how they're...
It was. I think the commander at that time was forward thinking. So we, as a lieutenant, we just said, okay, we're going to be in this battalion. So my company was sliced to a transportation battalion. So it had like 18-wheeler trucks. We call them 915s and things like that. Big trucks like that, and other 5-ton trucks and 2.5-ton trucks. And so we were in a battalion sort of like that. And so as we prepped, for me, I was not on the advanced party. That means the slice of the members of our company that would deploy first to prep things and bring the battalion in, bring the company in once we got there. So I wasn't on that, so I didn't think much of it.
Right.
Well, we had a 4-day weekend. I got a call on that Saturday, said, hey, you can come in tomorrow with all your stuff. You're now on the advanced party. You're leaving. I go, no, I'm not on the advanced party. There was another lieutenant on the advanced party, so I think you made a mistake. I said, well, the company commander called and said, you're on the advanced party now.
Wow.
So I called my company commander, and at the time his name was Captain Jones, and she said, this is Lieutenant Ladner. I just got a call, said I'm on the advanced party. I wasn't scheduled to be on the advanced party. He said, yeah, I made the change. You're now on the advanced party. He said, I know you can handle it. I'm thinking, why in the heck did he pick me to be on the advanced party? So I went in on that Sunday with all my stuff, and they checked everything, and on Monday we got issued ammunition, based on your basic load for the weapon system that you carry. And obviously I had an M16 at that time. We didn't have M4s in my unit, and I had a NCO that was a grenade launcher. We took the supply sergeant, and we took food specialist.
When you received that ammo, things got real quick.
Yes. And so they loaded us on buses, and we went out to Fort Hood Airstrip, loaded at the time a cargo 141 that was an Air Force plane. With our equipment, we took a couple of vehicles and other members of the battalion, some other
Hey, Joe,
in NCOs, and we had the Battalion XO Major. She led the advance party.
Mm-hmm. Hold
and
that thought, Joe. We're going
got on a plane, flew through Germany, and ended up in Saudi Arabia.
We're going to take a short break, and then we'll come back.
Sir.
I got a unique question I want to ask you that we've been asking everybody. We'll come right back to you after we pay some bills.
And one of the things we're going to talk about, paying a bill, is the Georgia Military Veterans Hall of Fame. The executive director is Colonel Rick White, retired, and it is something you've got to see. And also coming, and please write this down on your calendar, 28 March is going to be the ribbon cutting of the Healing Wall in Johns Creek, Georgia. That's the replica of it's a 50% size of the Healing Wall, the wall in the Vietnam Wall in Washington, D.C., and it's going to come to rest and have a permanent home in Johns Creek, Georgia. Also want to mention that Peachtree Corners also has monuments dedicated to veterans. We're turning into quite a state of distinction that we honor our veterans. We don't make fun, we don't anything. We just honor our veterans and first responders. So keep in mind, if you're traveling through Georgia, please come by Johns Creek or Peachtree Corners. They're in the same neighborhood, sort of. And also downtown for the Georgia Military Veterans Hall of Fame. It is fantastic, and I'm sitting across from someone in the Georgia Military Veterans Hall of Fame, General Richard Dix, and it is an honor and a pleasure to be with him, and hope that you all will tell your friends. We have another show coming up that will be starting very shortly that's called Special Agent, Agent in Charge, and this is a veteran of the FBI that will be telling some stories that will knock your socks off. They've been declassified where we can use them, and so stay tuned for information on that. We'll be back on America's Web Radio with more of the Georgia Military Veterans Hall of Fame show right after this.
This is Ron Camacho, host of the Business Hour, on Fridays from 10 to 11 a.m. Join me as I talk with passionate professionals on a program that profiles the best businesses, business professionals, business practices, and fascinating individuals to get an insider view of how America works. 10 to 11 a.m. on America's Web Radio.
My name is Mike Maisel. I'm a retired Army colonel and president of the Johns Creek Veterans Association. We live in Newtown Park, and part of one of our projects is the installation of the Healing Wall, the half-scale model of the Vietnam Wall that traveled the United States. Well, it's coming to rest, and it's going to live in Johns Creek forever, the half-scale model. We're looking at possibly a March implementation and ribbon cutting ceremony, and we're looking for donors and sponsors that want to help us in this great project. You can donate at jcvets.org.
You're listening to America's Web Radio on the AmericasBroadcastNetwork.com. Thank you for listening.
And we're back on America's Web Radio with our good friend, General Richard Dix, and
Colonel Retired Joe Ladner.
And Colonel Don. So let's get back into it, and I think you had a question.
Yeah, so Joe, when you guys went out on the advanced party on that 141, the bulk of your equipment that was in the motor pool that was being loaded, was it sand colored and prepared for the desert, or was it OD green and you had to paint it?
So it was all sand colored. We got it painted at Fort Hood.
Okay.
Fort Hood is pretty big, so we had to run everything through painting.
Mm-hmm.
And before the advanced party left, we had already took the bulk of our equipment down to Port Beaumont to load up on ships.
So once again, just as Colonel Wilson talked about last week, you had to go through another drill where you had to take paint the tanks and the other mechanized equipment that was designed to face the Russians in the Fulda Gap or the Chinese or the North Koreans in Korea. You had to paint them and get them ready for the Middle East environment. So
yes, sir. We did. There was an ordered merit list for painting equipment at Fort Hood, and those units that were deploying faster, we got in right away. I would tell you, we got all of our equipment painted in about a week.
Wow.
At Fort Hood.
So whoever makes cart paint in the desert pattern were heroes, especially for Fort Hood. How many divisions did you guys deploy?
We had 2 divisions at Fort Hood. We had the 1st Cavalry Division and the 2nd Armored Division. Those that may not know, prior to Desert Storm or the invasion of Kuwait, the decision had been made by the Army to inactivate the 2nd Armored Division. And they were about maybe a third of the way through that process when Saddam Hussein invaded Kuwait, and so everything stopped.
Wow. And then you had to turn the switch back the other way and reactivate the division.
That's right.
So how much of that was, I don't want to say infiltrated, that's not the right word, but with ORs and NG companies and battalions throughout Texas? Or supplemental, I should say.
Number, but I will tell you, my company ran what we call the security warehouse. But as we refit the division or got ready to them to turn in stuff by brigade, they had to turn in the NVGs, they had to turn in their weapons, all weapons, whether they were individual weapons or crew serve weapons, and they were inventoried, and we packed them and we sent them back to the depot in the Army. Now, all that changed once they got the order to stand back up, and we went through the reverse of that process.
Right. So some of the personnel had already been moved and shipped to other duty stations. So did you guys get replacements from the reserves and the National Guard there in the state of Texas, or?
We did have reserve and National Guard deployed to Fort Hood, but they served garrison positions. If you remember, so back then, most of the installation support functions were performed by soldiers with a small slice of government civilians.
Right.
So we did have National Guard and Army Reserve soldiers, units deployed to Fort Hood, but they backfill those units like my unit that did a garrison function, the security warehouse. We had backfill of Reserve and National Guard that came in to take those missions on.
Oh, okay.
Now, we do have National Guard and Reserve that deployed also because my company was sliced over to a Reserve battalion headquarters once we got to Saudi Arabia.
Oh, okay. So just similar to the 24th Infantry Division, David, they took their Reserve and National Guard elements with them and deployed as a total force. So that was a precursor to what you see today as one Army, one force that trained together at the National Training Center or the JRTC or over in the European Training Center and then deploy as a combined arms team. Okay.
Much more functional.
Yes, absolutely. Okay. So what were some of the, give me your top 3, Joe, that stuck out while you were going through the deployment process in country, executing combat, and then, what did you use or put in your rucksack that carried you all the way to full-bird colonel?
Well, so I could tell you some of my lessons learned. Number one, I would tell you the importance of teamwork, because no one can accomplish any mission or anything by themselves.
So I would have figured that the first thing I'd said is listen to a sergeant.
No, I mean, training, being prepared was another thing that stuck out for me because I'm a big proponent of rehearsing. Because if you don't practice and rehearse, number one, it can cost lives. I learned that in Desert Storm.
Right.
Or you just won't know what to do when you need to do it, and no one can depend on you. And I think another thing for me is being flexible. You know, things will change. So be prepared to make necessary adjustments and knowing my craft, knowing your craft, knowing your job, learn how to do it better than anyone else, and always being prepared and looking at things from second and third, or looking at them three-dimensional.
Right.
Look at what things will happen, what could potentially happen from your decisions, your action, or your inaction.
And I'll tell you, David, that's where the NCO comes in, just off of what Joe just touched on, was that, you know, that training is a critical piece that we've been talking through from show one to now about, you know, how you function as a team and you avoid that divide and conquer aspect that the enemy always tries to inject on the battlefield.
I would agree with that, sir.
So would you say, as when you did your battalion command and went back to the Middle East, how did you implement those lessons learned into what you were doing when you commanded in Kuwait?
I think for me, leadership style rather is lead by example, trust but verify, you know, and have high standards. Well, that's one of the big things I learned from, I think, my first battalion commander deploying to Desert Storm with him. Have high standards and train to him. Make sure that your subordinates rise to that standard, that you don't lower your standards. And anybody that worked for me would tell you I trust them all out, and I'm going to do what I ask them to do, but I'm also verify what they tell me, because I'm going to know what I'm talking about.
Right.
I think a leader will always be prepared. You can't go in any situation and not prepare. So a leader has to dedicate more time to learning the mission, looking over the things, and how that mission affects his left and right, above him and below him. And I think I took that and implemented that and lived by that when I was battalion commander. Okay,
we're going to take another break. When we come back from the backside of this break, I want to ask Colonel Ladner about some initiatives that he's doing down in the Fort Benning area and how it's affecting the youth in the Columbus area. We'll be right back.
The disease of addiction is a life-altering challenge, not just for the person suffering its effects, but also for the family and friends who support and love the one caught in its grasp. What should be the course of treatment? Who is the best person to render treatment? And what is the best place to go for the care that is needed? We know that you want answers to these and many more questions. Call 770-696-9862 and speak to a representative of the Atlanta Healing Center. They can tailor a program specifically designed to address the needs of the person suffering with an addiction, or give you guidance as to where that help may be found. Information is the key, and the trained staff at AHC is here to assist. If you wish, you can also get more information on the website located at www.atlantahealingcenter.com.
If your health insurance premium is more than your mortgage, Ellen Deal with Ideal Solutions is here to help. Whether you're a small business owner, individual, family, or baby boomer, email maga45cag@gmail.com and I'll respond with 3 easy questions to help you determine if you can get away from Obamacare. As a 20-year veteran of the insurance industry, I'm here to help with all your insurance needs. Email Ellen Deal at maga45cag@gmail.com.
You're listening to America's Web Radio on the AmericasBroadcastNetwork.com. Thank you for listening.
Yeah. So we're back, and we're going to continue our conversation with Colonel Joe Ladner. And Joe, what I wanted to touch on, and what Dave and I talked about during the brief, was the camaraderie that came out of Desert Storm, and the need and to mentor those that come after you, and how you've embraced that from your days at Fort Hood, and what you're doing currently in the Columbus school system to make that a reality. So if you can touch on that for us.
Okay, sir. Well, the camaraderie is a big thing. My platoon sergeant, my driver, you just build a bond when you deploy and train with folks that last a lifetime. Mm-hmm. And you know the importance of people, teamwork, and just have a common shared goal. Mm-hmm. So for me, I think it's very important for individuals, especially young men, to really have a sense of purpose and know that there's more to life than what they see in their surroundings.
Right.
Sir, I'd like to ask both of you, really. When I served, and I'm old enough to be Richard's grandfather, but when I was in, there was no fraternization with officer and enlisted. You just, everybody had their own golf course, and you just didn't fraternize. You didn't go out for a drink with your officer, even though you may have become very close friends. But do you feel like that this has been overcome in the past, particularly in Desert Storm and Desert Shield, where you may not go out every night, but you can still be friends, and you can still keep up with each other 10 years, 20 years later, and all of this kind of stuff. And just like you said, you get to know that Jeep driver pretty well when he's bouncing you along.
Yes, sir. I do. That's a good point. I think, at least from my time coming in the Army in 1989 on, you do build a bond, you do have camaraderie, but you do understand still about fraternization. For me and my platoon sergeant, my driver, we developed lasting relationships, and we still keep in touch. Unfortunately, my platoon sergeant from that time unfortunately passed away, but that carries on to all of the NCOs that you develop relationships with. Mm-hmm. I'm a firm believer that I still believe the NCO is the backbone of the Army. And cool. When you train with someone and you have a really good NCO, that NCO stays with you, and you develop a relationship with them, mm-hmm. that you can always reach out and talk to someone. Like I'm down here near Fort Benning, Georgia, and one of my sergeant majors from the battalion lives in Montgomery, and we talk at a minimum every month, every couple of months. We talk all the time and just catch up. And so I do believe that there is a fraternization policy in the Army that we stick by, but I don't think that fraternization policy stops you from developing professional relationships with individuals,
right?
And bonds with individuals. I don't believe that policy prevents you from doing that. I think it enhances that. There's a difference between a professional relationship and a personal relationship, and the policy is geared toward unhealthy personal relationships, I would say.
Mm-hmm. And I would agree that it stemmed from the Vietnam era and how to build a more cohesive, effective team between the officers and the NCOs as you prepare, train, and get ready to deploy into harm's way. Just like Joe just articulated, I've got lifelong friends that started and relationships that started at Desert Shield and Desert Storm at Fort Stewart, Georgia, back in 1988. My command sergeant major at the time was one of the maintenance NCOs in our task force, and 25 years later, he's my battalion and my brigade sergeant major in Afghanistan as I'm executing, and now I'm the battalion commander, and I'm now
sir.
the brigade
Yes, sir.
commander. And those were healthy relationships that we clicked. We knew exactly what each other was thinking, and we knew we could trust each other and take care of the unit and stuff. And that, I think, is paramount. Finish telling us about your program down there in Columbus, Joe.
Okay, so what we're doing, myself and members of my fraternity, and we partner with a local church here, and we have a boys mentoring program that's been proven, and we've modified it to make sure the purpose of the program is to build character in young boys so they can maximize their full academic and social potential. We want them to be productive in their environment and around the world for whatever they decide to do. And in this program, the objectives are to increase their academics, increase compliant behavior while reducing defiant behavior. We want to increase their level of appreciation and respect for themselves, others, schools, and in their community. And we want to facilitate a healthy development from a moral perspective, physical perspective, and a social and academic perspective. So we get in there and we teach them. We focus on areas of discipline, boundaries, respect, honesty, integrity, accountability, and decision making. And we focus and tell them that these focus areas or these characteristics are characteristics that you would see in a man. Not what you hear in your community, but what a man is disciplined, a man is self-controlled, a man understands that there are boundaries, and a man respects himself and everyone around him, and they're honest, and they're accountable for their actions. So we go into the schools. Right now we have 2 schools that we go in, Jefferson Davis Elementary School, where we go in once a week, and we sort of teach a class on these things. And in the class time, from the principal and assistant principal, the school administration has been great to allow us to come in. We go in at a time that's convenient for them, for the schools. And we do have a PowerPoint where we talk slides and kind of teach a class, but we also provide an opportunity for the boys to share their experiences with us. And one of the ways that we reinforce academics, reading and writing, we gave all the boys a notebook in the class. We do have them take notes, but we also ask them to define things in their own words. What do these things mean to them, like integrity? We'll give them a definition. Well, what does that mean to you? And then we tell them, before you say anything, you think about what you're going to say, you write it down, and then you tell us. We're going to go to each boy and hear what each boy is saying. Because the thinking about it allows them to stop and pause and learn to gather their thoughts. Then by writing it down, it reinforces the writing. Then we have them tell us that it reinforces their speaking, because a man can hold conversation. They don't use 4-letter words. So that's been real beneficial. It's rewarding to me.
Right.
And I think, sir, it's rewarding to the guys that participate with us. And we also do field trips with the boys, and we're meeting with the parents toward the end of this month, because a goal of ours is to be able to change lives. You know, a lot of people go into school and mentor, but in order to change lives, you got to have relationships outside of the school.
Right.
So we're meeting with the parents and explaining the program, so the parents know who we are, so we can engage the boys outside of school hours.
That sounds a lot like some training that you've gone through, David, as being a young soldier and progressing up to the NCO ranks. You know, it's very similar. And I know for a fact that's where Joe gathered some of his tenets and his principles from. But, David, you know, when you were listening to him break down the program, you know, I noticed that you smiled, and, you know, you had that flashback look on your face. You want to share that with the audience?
I guess what I kept wondering about was the parents, and then you address that you're going to be discussing it with them, but the parents' reaction to that, and that as we sit here, the one word that describes the military is discipline. Mm-hmm. And in today's world, a lot of parents don't know what that word means, and they don't know how to apply it to their kids. And so you all come in, and I was just curious as to the reception that you have by the parents to what you all are doing.
Well, I would tell you, we get mixed results. You have some parents that, first of all, we do have a parent permission slip, and the boys in the program are recommended by the teacher. We want boys that are not behavioral problems. We want boys that want to do things right and want to learn, so we can reinforce those skills. But back to the parents, a lot of the children live in underprivileged communities. Mm-hmm. So it's a matter of training the parents too. So we got to have a relationship. I believe developing a relationship with the parents will enhance our ability to instill that discipline in the boys and all those other characteristics of manhood that we want to instill on them. Because it's just a matter of time, sir, that I believe we tell the boys, you're a boy by age on your journey to manhood. Mm-hmm. Because we focus on 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders, but before long, they will be 6, 7, 8 high school graduates. Mm-hmm. So the characteristics and the skills that they develop now will they can carry with them throughout their life. And so we specifically target 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. And one of the principals asked us, hey, we need you to look at 2nd grade. But and we've started reading to them, but we want to focus so we get the boys at an early age, and so we can get away from that defiant behavior. When you mentioned parents not having discipline, some parents want the school to do all the discipline, and so that's all that they're dealing with, and we want to decrease that and help the schools where they could focus on education and not have to worry about defiant behavior. And we believe that when we do this program right and instill these characteristics in the boys, they will police themselves in terms of be leaders in the school. Mm-hmm. You're in this program, and we call it Black Tie Boys program. We also give them a white shirt, black tie, and black slacks. So when we go out in public, you look the part, because people are going to perceive you based on how you present yourself. Mm-hmm. And presentation of yourself starts with your hygiene. And it leads on to your clothes and your attitude. Absolutely. And your conversation.
Sir, what you're doing is, in my listening to you, is missionary work, which I'm curious, has your program been going long enough that the boys become missionaries and they spread the word to other kids that this is how you do it and this is why we do it? And so has it been going long enough to see some of that kind of results yet?
No, sir. I don't think it has. Now, for me, it's been a 2-year process. For a couple other guys that are in the program mentoring with me, they've had parts of this program that they've seen work in some young boys, but I don't have the data to provide right now. I think over the next 2+ years we should have the data, because we're seeing anecdotal. We have one young man that's been in the program 2 years, and he's now in the 6th grade, but he had a change. His defiant behavior went away. He learned to just speak and say yes sir, no ma'am, and listen to the teacher and focus on his academics. He's a bright young man, mm-hmm. but he had a lot of challenges and a lot of anger issues. I think some of the things we're dealing with a lot of young men, young boys, are anger issues, and learning how to overcome their environment.
Mm-hmm. How many programs like this are around?
I can't comment. I only know of this one that we do. There are a lot of programs that are mentoring young children. Now, I'm gonna say that, but I don't know many programs like ours that we look for that feedback from the teachers and the parents, because we want to see that our program is working.
Yeah,
and we want to stay with the young men, young boys from the time they're in the program to the time they get to high school, and encourage them, for those that have that desire and demonstrate the academic aptitude, to go ahead and go on to college. And the ones that don't, we tell them, hey, the military is a good opportunity. There are trade schools, learning things like being an electrician, a plumber, and things like that. Those are things where they are productive citizens. Those are jobs where you'll be productive citizens.
So it gets back to what you were talking about last week, David, about reactivating the trades programs and not really focus all of our efforts on IT profession, or because everybody's not suited for that. And you got more folks that are out there. They believe in hands-on, and they're great with their hands. And Joe and his fellow mentors are touching some of those youngsters right there.
Would you, sir, would you keep us posted on how the program is working? And did we cover how many young men you have in it right now?
At one school, sir, we have 16 young men.
Sir, I was only a grunt. You can just yell at me.
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. And at another school, we have about 20. We're deliberately keeping it small and growing from there, because we got to have the resources for the uniforms per se, for when we do the after school field trips, things to reward the boys, because they are boys. So you got to keep them engaged, got to keep them active. We took them on the first field trip here locally to the National Infantry Museum at Fort Benning here. And there was a lot of them that was their first time ever getting out of, and they're from Columbus. Really going through it, and the museum was great. It's a program where the education program, they took the boys through the museum with a tour guide, and we just took about 2 hours. They got a chance to ask questions and to just engage in the history of that museum, the military history standpoint. And then we fed them right there at their museum. They had a snack bar, you're able to feed them. So they are, we have a lot more plans, botanical gardens and other things, more educational type outings. But if I could give a shout out to Mister's Barbering Company here in Columbus, Georgia. They partner with us to provide free haircuts to the boys. We take them there monthly. Wow. And the barbers in there cut their hair for free and teach them about taking care of their hair and helping us with appearance. So there's a lot of good. I will definitely thank you for welcoming for asking me about the program. I'm excited about coming back and giving statistics on where we're going and what we're doing and how the young men are progressing.
Yeah, and when you come to Atlanta to visit the sights and sounds here, bring them by the studio so we can get them on the show.
Yes, sir. Cool. Yes, sir. That'd be awesome. Thank you, guys.
If I might add, one place that I remember when I was a Indian guide, I guess I still got them, I don't know, but when I was an Indian guide, one of the places that we toured, and it always, and still does make an impression on me, was that our leaders took us to the local jail. And I decided then and there I really wasn't interested in doing any more than a brief visit. and
Thank you, sir. That's a wonderful suggestion, and I'm going to take that down. That's probably a good way to get their attention.
Oh, it did mine. I think I was about 8 or 9 years old, and I thought, I don't like any part of this. Right. And I always remembered it and still do. And Still don't. I
Yep.
don't want any part of it.
Absolutely.
And it will, and you don't have to even say a whole lot. You just, you don't have to give a speech on, well, if you continue to be bad, this is the way you'll end up. No, that soaks in real fast,
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
So I didn't mean to mess in your business, but I do want to extend.
No, that helps. It takes everybody to do this.
Absolutely.
And we welcome suggestions and recommendations that will really enhance our program and really get the board's attention.
I want to expand on Richard's comment in that, anything that we can do, if we've got some, I don't know what your all's program is for donations and so forth, but my radio station will be glad to do some PSAs for you, be glad to, I don't know, are you all a 501 or?
Yes, sir. We have a 501c that we go through. We actually got two, one with the church and one, our organization is Service for Humanity, 501c.
Well, I'll get the information from Richard, and I'll be in contact with you, and we'll put you up on our website, and any announcement or anything that you have that comes up new, and we also have a former FBI agent that's going to be starting with us very shortly, and his show will be called Agent in Charge, and he'll be, he'd be. I know him well. Sandy would be flattered to talk to any of your boys about a career in the government.
Absolutely.
But you can't beat a career in the military, and finally the world is waking up to how good our military is and how important it is.
Yes, sir, I agree.
So, what else? We got about 3-4 minutes to go. What else would you like to say, sir?
I'd like to thank you guys for giving me the opportunity to just talk a little bit about the military and my experience, and give me that a platform to speak about our boys mentoring program. I thank you for what you're doing and getting veterans a voice to speak on the radio, because there's not many that really understand what veterans go through. So thank you for what you're doing with your radio station.
Thank you. We, Richard and I have talked about this many times. It's the largest fraternity in the world. Amen. And everybody's a brother and or sister, and it just I don't know, it was something I had to do from my standpoint, and I'm very fortunate that love Richard like a brother. He is a brother, and the folks that work with us, Rick White, Mike Mazzell, and so many others that have come forth, and Donna Rowe, and there's not a dust off that I wouldn't hug, and those pilots are just incredible, and the gunship pilots are incredible, and I can't stand the thought of anybody not appreciating our military and what they've gone through, and I don't know of even the old guy sitting across from me. I bet if push came to panic, he and I would break each other's arm getting out the door to re-enlist.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But remember, Dave, it is a young man's game.
It is. As I'm learning more every day. Absolutely. Everything's a young man's game.
Absolutely. We ought to talk to Rick about getting a table for the Hall of Fame induction ceremony that's held in November, and having Joe and his young men come out there and observe that Hall of Fame induction ceremony. I think that'll be great for those kids.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Think we could do that, sir?
I think
yes, sir. I welcome that. Thank you. I'm taking a note now to the Georgia Military Hall of Fame and getting the boys up there. That would be great. I welcome your support and sponsorship in any way that we can to get the boys up there.
Well, thank you for your service, and thank you for what you're doing, and please keep us posted on what you are doing, and as it grows and continues to grow, and if you get some, just like the Hall of Fame, has gotten other states interested in pursuing Hall of Fames. Did I say that right?
Yep. Mm-hmm. Halls of Fame. Mm-hmm.
And it would it's just reaching out. Everybody has to. Nobody's an island, as the song goes, and nobody fought the battle by themselves.
Absolutely.
And
Yes, sir.
I want to also mention that the Birdwell Foundation in Texas, which is also expanding into Georgia, is doing a wonderful job with and for the military and first responders that come back with PTSD. And this is, in the past few years we've attacked PTSD as some kind of new whatever, but it's not. We've always had it.
Yep.
Shell-shocked, whatever you wanted to call it.
fatigue.
Yeah, battle fatigue, right. And, we've had it since the Revolutionary War, I suppose. Anytime a bullet goes past your head and doesn't get you, you're liable to have PTSD.
Amen.
And it's just something that, with your kids, sir, are they from broken homes mostly, or do they have a parental situation?
Some live with their grandparents. Some do live with their parents. But majority of them, they're just from the underprivileged neighborhoods that don't have a lot of opportunity here in Columbus. And so a lot of organizations are coming in to help them. But I do think it starts with the young boys.
Well,
you got to get them to have the right attitude, the right character.
Sure.
And,
if they haven't been exposed to it, then they, something else that I'm full of great ideas for somebody else, but something I don't know if y'all teach it, but how important table manners are, and if they can sit down at a table and eat with anyone and be correct in the way they do it, it's amazing how far that'll get them.
Yep.
You are correct, sir. You're correct, because we're teaching them how to tie a tie. Right now, we only got the clip on, but we have ties, so we can teach them how to tie a tie properly, how to wear it properly, and I'm gonna incorporate table manners. We always take them out to eat, but we need to take them somewhere where they can sit down and learn how to eat with anyone.
Thank you. Well, sir, it's been a pleasure having you on.
And Joe, I want to thank you for making yourself available and sitting here and talking with us. And
yes, sir. Anytime. Thank you guys for what you do, and I look forward to engaging with you in the future.
Okay.
Great. Thank you,
Cool.
sir.
Right.
You've been listening to the Georgia Military Veterans Hall of Fame Hour with our host, General Richard Dix, and close friend.
Absolutely.
I want to add that always. And the last thing I want to add is God bless America and our troops around the world.
Stay safe. Stay strong.